Hello, and welcome to episode 2 of AWN, Arlington Whenever News. Let's begin by taking a look back at Arlington Independent Media in what might be considered its heyday.
Over the years, Arlington Independent Media, or AIM, provided a number of televised experiences. An outdoor performance by the Arlington Philharmonic. A stage performance by Opera Nova. Special holiday shows via Don Hammond's Arlington Weekly News.
Participants may purchase 20 coupon books per year as long as the books are available. To use the Super Senior Taxi, you must fill out a form and mail it to Arlington County AAA-DHS Super Senior Taxis. That's 2100 Washington Boulevard, 4th floor, Arlington, Virginia, 22202. The form can be obtained online, Googling Arlington, Virginia Super Senior Taxi Program, or calling 703-228-1700.
Individual musical performances by solo artists. Local sporting events. Coverage of the Arlington County Fair.
Thank you for joining us here for the Arlington Weekly News as we're on location at Arlington County Fair. Thank you so much for watching, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Enjoy the
Come
fair.
and join us at the fair.
Woo! See you next week.
interviews, including some with local politicians.
Sure. Well, I didn't create these. I tend to be more of a catalyst. I've lived in Arlington for a long time. I've got quite a few networks. And when I saw what was happening is, I'm up for re-election, and I had a great kind of technology group helping me connect with people. And we realized I guess it's maybe 6 months ago now, or 6 weeks ago now, feels like 6 months, that campaigning, I just couldn't be doing it anymore. I had to really, everybody in this county needs to focus on the pandemic and what we need to do to keep things together. So one of the things was help form the Arlington Community Corps, and that is just, there are many things popping up. There's also neighbors helping neighbors, but the Community Corps, what we realized was really a hyper local way of connecting people with each other.
Comedy shows.
16 men on a dead man's cup. Say, little lady, would you like some styro soda? About a little styro soup. Well, a little styro sandwich.
And many, many others. In addition, AIM provided technical training in video production, and some graduates of those courses went on to work in video production for the Arlington County government. At the end of 2015, AIM expanded its operations to include a radio station, WERA-LP. However, in 2016, things began to change. In a memo dated September 25th, 2016, AIM Executive Director Paul LaValle wrote, "As many of you are aware, the cable television franchise agreement between Comcast and Arlington is under negotiation at this time. The terms of this document have historically provided AIM's basic funding and facilities. Naturally, we are very interested in making sure that provisions for AIM are included in any new agreement. We trust that Arlington County is doing its best to negotiate on our behalf. Still, we think that it may be helpful to reach out to the county and let them know how important AIM is to this community." The memo continued with a summary of the situation. What the franchise currently provides: more than 50% of AIM operating funds, 1% of total cable revenue, free rent for the AIM facility, including free parking, one standard definition cable channel on the basic cable lineup, channel 69, and promotional assistance. What AIM needs in a new franchise: continued 1% of total cable revenue, free rent for the AIM facility, including free parking, one high-definition cable channel and one standard definition channel, and promotional assistance, including local ad inserts into cable networks, cable bill inserts, and program-specific listings in the digital program guide. Not all of the requests were granted. Comcast did not add any program-specific listings in their digital program guide. At the end of 2016, they moved out of the building they had shared with Arlington Independent Media, who would then have to pay rent beginning in 2018. The free rent and parking arrangement was gone. In 2018, the situation continued to deteriorate. Here are extracts from Executive Director Paul LaValle's report to Kim Phillip, President of AIM's Board of Directors. February 21st, 2018. County Chief Information Officer Jack Belcher telephones that the upcoming budget proposes a 20% cut to AIM funding. February 22nd, 2018. County Manager posts proposed fiscal year 19 budget online. February 28th, 2018. AIM emails members about the proposed cut. March 2nd, 2018. Paul LaValle sends a letter to County Board requesting allowance of use of PEG capital funds for rent. March 5th, 2018. Petition created. Fully fund AIM. Open Door Monday with County Board member Katie Crystal gets only 2 AIM attendees. March 6th, 2018. Paul LaValle meets with County Board member Eric Gutschall, proposes AIM as production source for ATV, or Arlington Television. March 8th, 2018. AIM holds general meeting with 75 attendees. Petition forms distributed. March 9th, 2018. Paul LaValle records 2 budget-oriented public service announcements. March 17th, 2018. 25 AIM members and supporters attend County Board meeting. Chief Information Officer Jack Belcher produces a chart implying that AIM is the only public access organization to receive any funding from local government. Mr. Belcher fails to inform the board that other organizations get support from franchise agreements and communications tax. AIM formerly received 1% of the tax, with Arlington County taking the remaining 4%. Mr. Belcher shows another chart claiming that AIM does no fundraising, an assertion reported by DTS and Citizens Advisory Board. March 19th, 2018. Open Door Monday with County Board member Christian Dorsey with 40 AIM attendees. Mr. Dorsey is reported as being receptive. March 26, 2018. Open Door Monday with County Board member Libby Garvey with, quote, excellent crowd of AIM attendees. Ms. Garvey reported largely non-receptive. April 2nd, 2018. Open Door Monday with County Board member Eric Gutschall with 30 AIM attendees. Mr. Gutschall reported as being receptive. April 3rd, 2018. Budget hearing with 100 AIM members and supporters. April 8th, 2018. Paul LaValle delivers 1,863 signatures on an AIM petition with letters to the County Board from LaValle and county-appointed AIM board members. April 21st, 2018. Arlington County Board votes back $70,000 of the proposed $90,000 budget cut, contingent on AIM raising $35,000 during fiscal year 2019. This was still a loss of $20,000. The COVID pandemic of 2020 did more damage. AIM had to close its studio space, thus forfeiting potential commercial rental income in addition to monies from member-produced programs and in-house training. Meanwhile, Arlington County had adopted a systematic 5% annual trimming of monies provided to AIM. The message from the county board was that this was a challenge to AIM to increase their fundraising efforts. Ironically, it was around this same time that Arlington County Board members began contemplating a substantial increase in their own salary cap, although county board salaries have no reliance on fundraising. Before Executive Director Paul LaValle left in 2021, he informed members that AIM's funds were extremely low.
That's enough history to demonstrate the trend over the previous several years. Last week's show mentioned a memo of understanding between Arlington County and Arlington Independent Media based on the 2023 grant agreement. Here are some notable extracts.
Whereas, under a certificate of public conveyance and necessity for cable television granted by Arlington County, franchise agreement, to Verizon Virginia Incorporated, Verizon, and Comcast of Potomac, LLC, Comcast, Verizon and Comcast provide an annual grant to Arlington County for the use of public, educational, and governmental programming, PEG Capital Grant or PEG Capital Funds. And whereas AIM is listed as a provider of a public access channel under the franchise agreement for both Verizon and Comcast, and whereas since AIM is listed as a provider of a public access channel under the franchise agreement, AIM is eligible for a portion of the PEG Capital Grant as determined by Arlington County. AIM Capital Grant. And whereas, while AIM is eligible to receive the AIM Capital Grant, AIM is not guaranteed access to the AIM Capital Grant. And whereas, Arlington County will make the sole decision as to whether AIM receives any portion of the PEG Capital Grant or AIM Capital Grant, and whereas the AIM Capital Grant is only to be used for capital purposes by AIM, which generally includes the acquisition of PEG access equipment and renovation or construction of PEG access facilities. Section 2 of the document is more explicit. AIM is eligible for the AIM Capital Grant due to being listed as a provider of a public access channel under the franchise agreement. However, this eligibility does not guarantee access to the AIM Capital Grant. Access to the AIM Capital Grant shall be determined solely by Arlington County. AIM shall maintain at all times a capital budget detailing planned capital expenditures for the current and future 2 fiscal years. Furthermore, AIM shall present this capital budget to the Arlington County each year during the county's capital budgeting season by November 30th of each calendar year. The November 30th submission is for use of the AIM capital grant for items or work for the upcoming fiscal year to begin on July 1st. Annual request and proposal for AIM capital grant. AIM will request use of the AIM capital grant as a part of the Arlington County's annual budget process. AIM shall make a request for the AIM capital grant to the Arlington County Manager's Office, and along with that request shall provide all of the following: AIM's capital grant proposal. A. At least 2 competitive market rate quotes for the specific capital goods and services to be purchased. Such quotes are solely for the substantiation of the market value of the goods and services to be purchased and the determination of the amount of the capital grant support requested. And B. An invoice from AIM to Arlington County. And C. A project description. And D. A detailed equipment list to be purchased with the annual AIM capital grant. And E. A detailed list of other fees and project costs to be procured with the annual AIM capital grant. There were some additional items. Eligible capital expenses does not include any operational expenses. Operational expenses include, but is not limited to, salaries, rent, utilities, and other payments required to sustain the operation of the organization. In the event that AIM does not use the AIM capital grant for eligible capital expenses, AIM will be responsible for returning the AIM capital grant spent on non-eligible capital expenses to Arlington County.
It is noteworthy that the agreement refers only to the capital grant funds and makes no mention of operational grants or monies from AIM's fundraising, membership dues, or commercial rentals. The agreement certainly appears to support the county's recent decision to withhold PEG funding. What is not clear is the county's basis for also withholding funding for operations, especially for staff salaries. Now I'm going to engage in a little opinion and speculation. Under the terms of the grant agreement, AIM is required to submit a budget for 2 years in advance by November 30th for fiscal years that don't begin until the following July 1st. In our first actual historical scenario, in December 2016, after the budget filing deadline, Comcast announced that AIM would have to start paying rent in January 2018, but the 2-year budget projection from July 2017 through July 2019 could not have included anything about that, even if AIM had needed to relocate and build new facilities at another location. Here's a theoretical scenario. Suppose AIM adopts a 2-year budget plan for the foundation of a small auxiliary building during the first year, with construction of the actual building to take place during the second year. Suppose Arlington County approves funding for the foundation, but later decides not to fund the costs for the actual building. The second scenario is admittedly fanciful, but it seems to illustrate to me that the grant agreement might be legally defined as an unconscionable contract. That means a contract with grossly oppressive and unfair terms. The agreement language states that AIM is eligible to receive PEG funds, but that Arlington County has the sole ability to deny any or all of those funds. To paraphrase, we hereby agree to pay, but only if we feel like it. Here's something else to consider. In fiscal year 2023, operations funding for AIM was $383,579. From this amount, AIM had to pay rent, office expenses, and salaries. The rent for just the 3700 South 4 Mile Run Drive location is $20,000 per year. On the other hand, for fiscal year 2024, the salary of an Arlington County Board member was $89,851, and the board chair's salary was $95,734. With 4 regular board members and 1 board chair, that comes to $455,138 in salaries alone. The members of the county board get to set their own salaries, and they also get to set the operations funding for AIM. And the county board never needs to fundraise. In its heyday, AIM was open from 9 o'clock a.m. to 10 o'clock p.m. 5 days per week, with somewhat reduced hours on the weekends. With a single person at the front desk and 1 other technical person available for studio work, training, and support, a staff of 12 would seem to be the minimum needed. After the rent is paid, $360,000 split 12 ways would come to $30,000 per staffer per year. But that's without considering the costs of utilities and other operating expenses such as equipment repairs. For people unfamiliar with payroll costs, at first glance, the apparent cost of a $30,000 annual salary might not seem terribly small for an individual recipient, but the employee actually receives considerably less. That's because employers are required to contribute an additional 7.65% of an employee's pay for Social Security and Medicare. Federal unemployment tax payable by the employer costs an additional $420 per year. Virginia state unemployment tax costs the employer at least another $200 per year. If employee benefits are provided, the annual cost can start at $1,200 per year for a single employee. At best, the employee's share, the stated annual salary, would actually come to about $26,000 per year before taxes. That amount, even the gross amount, won't even cover the average cost of renting a 1-bedroom apartment in Arlington. According to County Board member and AIM liaison Takis Karantonis, early feedback from the auditors suggests that AIM has significantly overspent its PEG fund allowance and that those monies are recoverable from AIM. As of this report, AIM exists as a volunteers-only organization with no paid staff. Regardless of the outcome of the county-ordered audit that began nearly 9 months ago, Arlington County appears to have the sole discretion to withhold all PEG funding. It also appears intent on recapturing the excess PEG charges from AIM, whose near-term income appears to be primarily dependent on future county operations grants.